Yeah, they look great.
Buzz.
It's the end of February. We've got almost 14 hours of sunlight now, but it's still Alaska, which means it's still cold. We had some mild weather last week, but more sub-zero temperatures are coming soon. Healthy colonies with strong populations and plenty of food are going to survive this winter. Sick colonies will almost certainly perish in the next few weeks, as will many with small populations. This video shows how I assess colony strength in winter. I look at three things: hive front inspection, internal temperature, and candy board inspection. My first step is always to look at the front of the hive. New beekeepers often worry when they see dead bees in the snow. Relax. Dead bees on top of fresh snow is an indication that the colony is hanging in there. Bees fly out to die all winter long. In fact, the absence of dead bees on new snow may mean that cluster size has gotten very small or that the colony is not alive. Small amounts of bee poop on the hive front are common, but large amounts indicate the colony has dysentery. Honeybees can hold up to 1/3 of their body weight in waste and can go 4 to 5 months without relieving themselves. However, not all bees have the genetics to manage this, and sick bees definitely can't. When it's too cold for them to fly out, these bees relieve themselves inside the hive, which sickens the entire colony. In my experience, colonies with dysentery rarely survive winter. The next thing I look at is internal temperature. Sometimes there are no dead bees in the snow, but the internal temperature lets me know they're okay. The gray line at the bottom of this graph is the external temperature, and the colored lines are individual hives. Individual hive temperatures vary somewhat based on the population and the sensor placement, but you can see that all of these colonies are keeping the internal temperature well above the external temperature. If the hive is weak, the gap will gradually narrow, and I'll know they've died when the internal and external temperatures merge. All of my colonies have a candy board, which is just beekeeper speak for emergency winter food. It takes a lot of fuel to generate the heat needed to survive our winters, and adding sugar in October ensures they won't starve in February or March. Most colonies only eat some of the sugar, but about 20% of them will consume all of it and need more. The candy boards I use provide extra insulation, and they let me peek in during winter without disturbing them. The condition of the candy board helps me assess colony strength and health. Links to how I build and install these easy, cheap candy boards are in the video description and at the end of this video. So let's take a look at some candy boards. Sometimes I can see enough by looking through the plexiglass window, but I usually peel back the top layer of Reflectix to get a better look. This is exactly what we want to see. Bees are completely covering the opening in the inner cover, so I know the population is strong. Another clue is the individual bees crawling well away from the group. They can only do this if a large cluster is emitting enough heat from below to warm the entire candy board. They've also only eaten a little bit of the sugar, which tells me they have plenty of syrup stored down below. Here are a few more examples. Some colonies have eaten a little more sugar than others, but none are in danger of running out.
Looks great. They look great. They are doing great. They're just barely starting on it. There's quite a few bees on the top in here, which tells me there's a lot of bees up here. Sometimes that means that they're going through the food too fast. So we'll see. Oh no, there's still quite a bit of food, but there are a lot of bees in there. But they're fine. They look great. Oh, they're just now getting started on it. They're crawling around. It's plenty warm. There's individual bees crawling around in there.
This colony hasn't even touched the sugar, but the internal temperature was 62, so I know they're doing okay. Now let's take a look at a colony that is struggling. There are living bees, but they're pushed over to one side of the box. That means the population is small. There are also more than a few dead bees in the candy board and a few splotches of poop. It doesn't look terrible yet, but I'm not optimistic. If the weather is mild, this colony might survive, but they'll be very weak. Here's what a doomed colony looks like. When I took this video in early March of last year, they still had a decent population, but all of that poop and the sugar clearly showed they were very sick. The colony didn't actually die until early April, but I had known they probably wouldn't make it since I first started seeing dysentery on the front of the hive in late January. Also, you may have noticed that the bees in the other hives I checked were very tolerant to being looked at, even though it was quite cold outside. The bees in this sick hive were very aggressive. You can see them trying to storm out after me. Sick bees are often very defensive.